Stop scrolling for a second. You need to hear this. If you've been following the news, you probably think 2026 is going to be the year America wins the space race. Every headline is screaming that NASA is back. We've got the rockets, we've got the astronauts, and we've got the hype. It feels like a victory lap, right? But I hate to be the one to burst your bubble. Those headlines are blinding you to the truth. While everyone is distracted by NASA's PR machine, China is pulling a silent strategic maneuver in 2026 that could legally lock the US out of the most valuable territory in the solar system. We are looking at a classic magician's trick. Watch the right hand while the left hand steals your wallet. So the real question isn't who gets there first. The real question is NASA winning the battle for clout while China wins the war for control? Today, we are looking at the receipts. Let's start with Team USA. 2026 is supposed to be the year of Artemis II, and let's be real, this is a massive flex. NASA is sending 4 astronauts, 3 Americans and 1 Canadian, on a 10-day journey around the moon. This is historic. We haven't sent humans that deep into the void since Apollo 17 in 1972. It sends a powerful message to the world. We still run this town. But here is the catch that the hype videos ignore. They aren't landing. Artemis II is a flyby. It's a loop. They launch, travel 10,000 kilometers beyond the moon to set a distance record, and then come straight home. It's basically the world's most expensive road trip. Now, don't get me wrong, this is engineering genius. The Orion capsule is a beast, and they need to test the life support systems before they risk landing. NASA is playing it safe because they can't afford a disaster. But strategically, in the eyes of history, a flyby doesn't plant a flag. A flyby doesn't build a base. And while NASA is busy perfecting the human factor for the cameras, their competition is doing something much grittier. While NASA is focused on the show, China is focused on the business. In 2026, roughly around the same time NASA is doing its flyby, China plans to launch the Chang'e 7 mission. Now, this isn't a human mission. There are no astronauts to interview, but the hardware they are sending is terrifyingly smart. They aren't just sending a lander, they're sending a leaper, a mini flying probe designed to hop into dark craters to hunt for water. And unlike NASA, they are landing, and they are landing in the one spot that actually matters, the South Pole, specifically near the Shackleton crater. Why there? Because of the shadows. That's where the water ice is. Water in space isn't just for drinking. Water is hydrogen and oxygen. That means rocket fuel. If you can mine the ice at the South Pole, you have a gas station in space. You can refuel ships to go to Mars. You can power a permanent city. So look at the scoreboard again. NASA in 2026, sending humans to look at the moon. China in 2026, sending robots to survey and claim the gas station. It's like NASA is playing for likes on Instagram while China is playing Monopoly, and they're about to buy Boardwalk. But wait, it gets messier. We can't talk about 2026 without talking about the wild card, Elon Musk and SpaceX. Here's the dirty little secret NASA doesn't highlight. They can't land on the moon without SpaceX. NASA's own rocket, the SLS, is just a taxi to get to orbit. To actually get down to the surface, which is the plan for Artemis III, they need the Starship HLS. And right now, Starship is facing a huge problem called orbital refueling. To get a Starship to the moon, SpaceX needs to launch roughly 14 tanker ships into Earth's orbit to fill up the lander before it leaves. They haven't done this yet. It's incredibly hard tech. If SpaceX hits a snag, the US timeline slips. 2027 becomes 2028, 2028 becomes 2029. China doesn't have this problem. Their space program is state-run and follows a 5-year plan. They are the tortoise in this race. Slow, steady, and boring until you wake up and realize they've already crossed the finish line. Here's the scariest part, the part nobody is talking about. You might say, so what? The moon is big enough for everyone. Wrong. The prime spots with the most ice are actually tiny. Some are just a few kilometers wide. And there's a legal loophole called a safety zone. According to the Outer Space Treaty, you can't own the moon, but you can request a safety zone around your equipment to prevent harmful interference. If China lands their rover in 2026 and says, hey, this is a delicate science experiment, nobody come within 50 kilometers or you'll disturb our dust, they have effectively blocked that area. If they park on the best crater first, NASA, who won't land humans until years later, could be legally locked out. It's first come, first served. And right now, China is arriving for dinner while NASA is still looking for a parking spot. So let's wrap this up. On the surface, 2026 looks like America's year. We're putting faces back in space. We're inspiring a new generation, and that matters. But if you dig deeper, the strategic advantage is tilting. While we celebrate the return of the astronaut, China is quietly building the infrastructure to stay. The winner of the space race won't be the one who gets the most views on YouTube, it'll be the one who controls the resources. So I gotta ask you guys, what matters more to you? The glory of the Artemis flyby or the strategic control of the South Pole? Are we winning the battle but losing the war? Let me know your theories in the comments, Team NASA or Team China. If you want more deep dives into the truth behind the headlines, smash that like button and subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one. Stay curious.